Hey there, this is Nikki from the Knotted Nest. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make the Bobble Christmas Tree Stocking. This pattern is an intermediate level pattern. It uses heavy worsted weight, which is a size 4 weight yarn, but it is a little on the thicker side, and it can be a little tricky to find. I recommend using Snuggle Puff yarn by Crochet. This pattern includes the written instructions, pictures, and a chart. In this tutorial, I'll be walking you through each step of the pattern. However, you will need to have access to the written pattern, which you can get for free on my website, knottednest.com, or you can grab an ad-free printable version at my Etsy or Ravelry shops. For the main color yarn, you'll need about 325 yards of heavy worsted weight. I use Snuggle Puff by Crochet. This is categorized as a 4 weight, but it is a little on the thicker side, so if you use a different yarn, just check your gauge. For the tree color, you'll need about 50 yards of whatever color you choose. For the trunk, about 2 to 3 yards. And for hooks, you'll need a size G and a size I. You'll also need scissors, yarn needle, and a tape measure. Okay, we're going to start at the toe end of the stocking, so you'll need your main color yarn. Mine is white, and the size I 5.5 millimeter hook. We're going to start with a magic circle. There's some great tutorials on YouTube you can look up if you're not quite sure how to do that. Once you get your magic circle made, then you're just going to chain 1 and work a half double crochet into the circle itself, and then we're going to do that 9 more times for a total of 10 half double crochets in the magic circle. Okay, so I'm just going to double check that I have 10, and then we're going to pull the magic circle tight to close that toe. And then we're just going to slip stitch to the very first half double crochet that you made to join the round. All right, so that is the end of round 1. We're going to start round 2. For rounds 1 through 5, you will not turn at the end of the round. You'll just chain 1 and work right into that very first stitch, the one that you just slip stitched into. I explain this in a little bit more detail in the notes section of the written pattern, but for rounds 2 through 6, we are going to be working into the third loop and the front loop of the half double crochet instead of what you usually would work into, which is the front loop and the back loop. This just avoids the extra line that forms on your work if you do use the third loop, but it's just a personal preference just to get a more uniform look. So for round 2, you're going to be working a half double crochet increase in each stitch. And all that means is you're just going to do 2 half double crochets in each stitch, all the way around the circle. And you should end up with 20 stitches at the end of round 2. And we'll just slip stitch right to the first one that you made to join the round. And like I said before, for rounds 1 through 5, you will not turn at the end of the round. So we're just going to chain 1 and start with round 3. And all we're doing here is just increasing the size of our circle for rounds 1 through 5. So for round 3, you're going to start with, in that very first stitch, a HDC increase, which is just 2 half double crochets in the first stitch. And then for the next stitch, you'll do 1 half double crochet. So you're just going to continue that pattern around, 2 half doubles, one half double all the way around the circle until you get back to the beginning. At the end of round 3, you should have a total of 30 stitches, and you're going to slip stitch to join, just like before. We do not turn at the end of the round. We're still going to keep increasing the size of our circle, so for round 4, chain 1, do an increase in that very first stitch, just 2 half double crochets right into that same stitch. And we're going to work 1 half double crochet in the next stitch and 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. So for round 4, you're just going to keep going with that pattern of increase, single, single, all the way around till you get back to the beginning. Okay, at the end of round 4, you should have a total of 40 stitches. I'm going to slip stitch to that first half double crochet and do not turn. Just chain 1, and we're going to do one more increase round. Round 5 will be an increase round. So in your very first stitch, you will need to do a half double crochet increase, work 2 stitches in that very first stitch, then 1 half double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. And we're just going to continue with that same pattern all the way around for round 5. When you get to the end, you should have a total of 50 half double crochets for round 5. And after this round, we're going to stop and check our gauge. Gauge is pretty important for this project, especially if you have substituted yarns. So it's important to check the gauge after round 5. You're just going to measure the diameter of the circle, should equal about 4 3/4 inches. If you're any smaller than that, you're going to want to adjust your hook size or maybe even consider using a different yarn so that your stocking doesn't come out too small. Okay, on to round 6. Remember, we do not turn after round 5, so we're just going to chain 1 and start into round 6. We're done with the increasing rounds, so we're just going to start shaping the foot of our stocking now. So all you have to do for round 6 is just 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way around until you get back to the beginning. You should end up with 50 half double crochets at the end of round 6. Okay, so we made it to the end of round 6. You're just going to slip stitch to the first stitch to join the round. And like I said in the beginning of this tutorial, it is extremely important to follow the turning directions in this pattern. For rounds 1 through 5, you do not turn at the end of the round, but after round 6, you will turn your work. Very important. And here you can kind of see that line that I was talking about, where we worked into the third loop and the front loop of the half double crochet, is to keep that line on the inside of your stocking. Okay, so round 7 is just going to be the same as round 6, just 1 half double crochet in each stitch, but there are a couple things that I wanted to point out. Because we turned after round 6, the first stitch that you're going to come to is the slip stitch that you used to join round 6. You want to ignore that slip stitch and work into the next stitch, which is actually the 50th stitch from round 6. So you're just going to work one half double crochet into each stitch. And now that we've turned, we're going to ignore that third loop of the half double crochet and only work into the front loop and the back loop for the round 7 through 18. This will just help keep things a little bit more uniform. And we'll just continue with one half double crochet in each stitch all the way around till you get to the end of the round. At the end of round 7, you'll have 50 half double crochets, and you will just slip stitch to that first one to join the round. Just as I said for rounds 1 through 5, for rounds 7 through 17, you will not turn after the end of the rounds. Very important. So all we're going to do for round 8 is just chain 1 and work one half double crochet in each stitch, and we will continue with that same pattern until we get to the end of round 18. Okay, we are now to the end of round 18, and we're just going to slip stitch to join the round. This next step is probably the most crucial step in the whole pattern, and that is going to be to turn your work after round 18. If you forget to turn after round 18, it will actually throw off the whole rest of the pattern. So if you get up to the leg of the stocking and you notice that your tree bobbles are pointing to the interior, most likely you missed the turn after round 18. And we're coming to the heel portion of the stocking, which is worked in rows instead of rounds. And I'll show you what I mean. Before we get started on that, though, just a few things. First, the first stitch that you're going to come to is actually the slip stitch. So you're going to ignore that like we did before and work into the last stitch of the last round. Also, just like we did for rounds 1 through 5, we're going to work into the third loop and the front loop of the half double crochet. Again, just to keep that more uniform look so you don't have that extra line. So for row 1 of the heel flap, you're just going to work one single crochet in the first 20 stitches. At the end of row 1 of the heel flap, you should have 20 single crochets, and you're just going to chain 1 and turn. You will turn at the end of each of the heel flap rows until you get to row 10. So for row 2, you're just going to single crochet in each stitch. Chain 1 and turn. Row 3 of the heel flap is where we're going to start the shaping. So you will start row 3 by single crocheting in the first 6 stitches. And then we're going to work a single crochet decrease. So to do the decrease, you will just insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, then insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. And that'll be your single crochet decrease. Then you will work one half double crochet in the next 4 stitches, followed by another single crochet decrease, and then just one single crochet, in each of the last 6 stitches. So it's just a mirror image of the beginning of the row. And this should give you a total of 18 stitches for row 3 of the heel flap. And you just chain 1 and turn to get ready to start row 4. Okay, so row 4 just continues with the shaping of the heel flap, and you can follow along with the written pattern for rows 4 through 10, which is linked in the description below. And I will meet you back here at the end of row 10. Here we are at the end of row 10. This is the last row that we'll be doing. We'll be starting to work in rounds again after this. And you can see how this has formed a nice little sort of flap that we will then pull up to be the heel of the stocking. You do not turn after row 10. So we'll now continue to work in rounds. And for round 19, you'll actually work down the sides of the heel flap around the unused stitches of round 18 and then back up the other side. This image from the written pattern shows the path of round 19. If you were looking at the stocking as it would hang, you'll just start right at the square and follow the path around. So to get started, you're going to chain 1, and you'll need to work 5 half double crochets down the side of the heel flap. So you might want to just kind of angle your work a little bit and just try to evenly space these. You're going to be stretching across a pretty far distance, but that's what's going to help you sort of pull that heel flap in and make it a rounded heel. For me, it worked out to be about every other row I was placing a half double crochet for a total of 5 down the side here. And you might have to play with this a little bit just to get it a nice even spacing. So when you get down to the bottom, you're going to work into that first unused stitch that you come to from round 18. Just work 1 half double crochet, and you're going to do 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way around until you get back to the other side of the heel flap. Now that we're at the other side of the heel flap, you're just going to do the same thing that we did on the first side and work 5 half double crochets evenly spaced up the ends of the rows, about 1 every other row. Just see what works for you to try to minimize any gaps or holes. So 5 half double crochets up the side of the heel flap. Okay, so we've made our 5 half double crochets up the second side of the heel flap, and now we're just going to work across the top of the heel flap, 1 half double crochet in each stitch of from row 10 of the heel flap. Okay, and once you get all the way across row 10 of the heel flap and you get back to the first half double crochet that you made for round 19, you're just going to slip stitch to join the round and chain 1. You do not turn after round 19, and you can start to see how this is going to start to take shape, and we're going to start on the leg part of the stocking next. For the leg portion of the stocking, we will be doing a technique to help offset the slant that just naturally comes with a half double crochet, and this just helps to keep your color work nice and straight. To do this technique, it's really simple. You're just going to start each round with a half double crochet decrease and end each round with a half double crochet increase. You can check out the notes section of the written pattern for more information about this technique. Okay, on to round 20. We've already chained one. We're going to start our round with a half double crochet decrease. To do that, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through. Should have 5 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 5. And that is your half double crochet decrease. That counts as 1 stitch. And now we'll just continue to half double crochet in each stitch. Okay, we've come to the last stitch of the round, so we're going to work 2 half double crochets in that last stitch, which would be an increase, and slip stitch to the first stitch of round 20 to join the round. And rounds 21 through 23 are just going to be a repeat of round 20. Okay, we've just finished up round 23, and like I said before, you will not turn after any of the leg rounds, so none of those rounds should have been turned. And we're just going to slip stitch to join round 23, and we're going to get ready to start round 24. This starts the color work portion of the pattern. So we're going to start this round like every other round of the leg with a half double crochet decrease, followed by 1 half double crochet in each of the next 27 stitches. On the 27th stitch, we're going to stop on the last step, and which would be pulling through all 3 loops on the hook. And instead of pulling through with our main color yarn, you're going to pull through with your tree trunk color yarn. And this is how we will switch colors. You want to make sure you pull all of your yarn toward the interior of your stocking. I'm going to go ahead and work over the tail of my brown, and you're just going to work 1 half double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. I'm just working right over the main color yarn as well. And on the last stitch of the brown, you're going to stop again with 3 loops on the hook, the final step of the half double crochet. Make sure you're pulling that yarn toward the interior. And for that last step, you're going to pull through with the main color, and now you're switched back to the main color yarn. And for the rest of this round, we are just going to work 1 half double crochet in the next 16 stitches using the white. Okay, and you can see how our tree trunk is starting to form there. And then remember, on the very last stitch, you will still do that HTC increase in the very last stitch, and then slip stitch to the first to join. And we'll chain 1, do not turn, and starting the next round with a half double crochet decrease. This is round 25. So you'll work 1 half double in the next 27 with white, then the next 3 half doubles with brown, and the final 17 with white. Don't forget to increase in the last stitch. Okay, and that is it for the brown yarn, so you can go ahead and trim that off and weave or tuck in those ends. And we are going to start round 26, which will be the first round with the green bobbles. You can see our cute little trunk there, all ready to go. For the color work portion of this pattern, the written pattern does include step-by-step instructions for each round. So you can do the color work portion of this pattern without the chart, but for those of you who just like to see what you're doing, this chart is also included in the pattern. The chart starts at the bottom right corner. All rounds are worked right to left. So to read this chart, you'll just do what it says in the box on the right side of the chart, then read across the round that you're on the chart, then do what it says in the box on the left side. And you can see on this chart how skewed the tree actually is, and this is, again, just to offset the natural slant of the half double crochet. Our little technique of decrease, increase also helps, but you can see that it still has to be offset. Okay, we're ready to start round 26, which starts the green part of the tree. We've already chained 1. You do not turn, and you're going to start with the half double crochet decrease, just like all the other rounds of the leg portion. After you do your decrease, then you'll just need to work 1 half double crochet in each of the next 20 stitches with the white. Okay, we're on the 20th stitch, and as you can see, I did not complete the 20th stitch yet. I'm going to pull through my last step of the 20th half double crochet. I'm going to pull through with the green to change color. I found it a little bit easier to just wind up a ball of the green with about 50 yards. It's just a little bit easier to work with because, as you can see, there are a lot of pieces of yarn to try to manage. Okay, we're ready to start the bobble. To do that, you'll yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and you'll yarn over and pull through 2. Do that again, yarn over, insert into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. So do that 2 more times, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. One more time. And you should have 5 loops on the hook. You'll yarn over and pull through all 5. In the next stitch, we're just going to work a single crochet that just gives a little space between your bobbles, and we'll work another bobble. You can see I'm working over my yarn tails just to secure those down a little bit. You can also start to see that our bobbles, when you make the bobble stitch, it actually pops out to the back of your work. So you're actually looking at the back of the bobble as you make it. This is why those turns are so important, because you need to be looking at the interior of the stocking when you're making your bobbles so that they end up on the outside. Don't forget to do the single crochet after each bobble. All right, we're at the end of that first row of bobbles, so that was 8 bobbles. On the 8th bobble, you're going to pull through all 5 loops with white, and then do your single crochet with white. And now to finish out round 26, we'll just do 1 half double crochet in each of the next 11 stitches, and then the final stitch of the round will be the half double crochet increase. All right, and that is the first round of the bobble stitches made, and you can already see our cute little tree starting to form. Just a tip before we start the 27th round, I like to take the ball of green yarn and just pop it right down into the toe of the stocking. Um, just helps to keep things a little bit neater. Round 27 is just going to be a round of half double crochets, still doing the decrease at the beginning and increase at the end. But we're just going to work a round of half double crochets with the white. And when you get to the bobble stitches, each bobble is a stitch and each single crochet is a stitch. So you need to make sure you put a half double crochet in each of those. So we'll do this round of white half double crochets between each bobble round. And I'm just going to continue following the chart and following the pattern to do the shape of the tree. This is round 28, where we will do 7 bobble stitches with the green. And again, just want to remind you to make sure that you're always pulling your loose yarn to the interior of the stocking. You can crochet over the tails, or you can drop them and pick them back up, whatever you like to do. Just depends on how neat you want the interior of your stocking. Here's how it should look after round 28. You can see that the tree is lining up how it should, even though the chart looks very slanted. That just offsets the natural half double crochet. All right, I'm just going to continue working my way up the tree, and I will meet you back here at round 40. Okay, we're at round 40 now. I've done the first part of the round with the white half double crochets. You can see we got pretty much a whole Christmas tree here. I'm just going to do one final bobble. Going to work that 20th half double crochet in the white and pull through with the green to switch my colors. Got a little buddy. Okay, one last bobble stitch. Okay, and switch back to white. Pull through all 5 of those loops with the white. and work the single crochet with the white. And I'm just going to finish up this round with 25 half double crochets and an increase in the last stitch. And that is it for the color work. For the remaining rounds of the stocking leg, for rounds 41 through 49, we're just going to do rounds of half double crochet in white, always doing the decrease at the beginning and the increase at the end. So that's rounds 41 through 49 with half double crochet. And then the final round, round 50, you'll just do a round of single crochet in each just to give the top a nice finished edge. And the completed body of the stocking should look something like this. All right, so for this pattern, we will be working the cuff of the stocking separately and then attaching it later. You'll need to switch to a size G hook, keeping with the main color yarn. That's what you want to do for your cuff. And we're just going to chain 19. All right, we have 19, and we'll just half double crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then in each chain. So you'll have a total of 18 half double crochets for this row 1. All right, so that's row 1 complete. For row 2, we're just going to chain 1 and turn. And starting with that very first stitch, we're going to half double crochet in the back loop only for each stitch. Okay, so that's row 2. You can kind of see how this is starting to form a ribbing for the cuff. So for row 3, we're just going to do the same thing as row 2. Chain 1, turn, half double crochet in the back loop only for each stitch. And we're going to repeat that all the way to row 43. All right, we're to the end of row 43. We now have a long rectangle of ribbing. We're just going to fold that in half, and we're going to join it together through both sides. To do that, you're going to insert your hook under the front loop of the row nearest you and the back loop of the row farthest from you, and slip stitch. Just going to keep doing that for each stitch down the end of the rows to join it into a circle. Okay, now that it's joined, we're just going to leave that yarn attached and take the main body of our stocking. We're going to use the circle of ribbing that we just made, and we're actually going to insert that into the stocking. And you want the tops of your ribbing ends to line up with the top of the stocking. So it just takes a little bit of shuffling around to get it all lined up. You want the top of the row ends to be flush with the top of the stocking. All right, with the working yarn, you're going to chain one and you're going to slip stitch through the top of the cuff and through the top row of the stocking leg. Just to note that you're going to be working through the ends of the cuff rows, so you'll need to choose your own space to insert your hook. You're going to try to choose a spot at about the end of each of the half double crochet rows. But since we have 43 half double crochet row ends and 50 single crochets at the top of the stocking, you'll need to skip about 6 to 7 of the single crochets. When joining, I try to just evenly space those out. You're just going to continue around until the whole thing is joined, and then fasten off and weave in your ends. And now you'll just flip that cuff right side out, and that is the main part of the stocking. Next, we'll add a little tab to hang it from, if you would like. To make the hanging tab for your stocking, continue with the size G hook and main color yarn and chain 4. For row 1, you'll just single crochet in the second chain from the hook and in each chain for 3 single crochets. At the end of row 1, you'll just chain 1 and turn and work. For row 2, you just work a single crochet in each stitch. Chain 1 and turn, and continue that for 24 rows. And at the end of that, you'll just fasten off and leave about a 12-inch tail to sew it onto the stocking. Okay, once you've fastened off row 24 of your hanging tab, you'll string the long tail onto a yarn needle, and we'll take the long strip that we've just made and fold it in half lengthwise to form a little loop. And we're just going to use that yarn needle to sew this to the inside of your stocking. You just want to make sure when you're sewing here that you're only sewing through the stocking body and not through the cuff. You don't want to sew that down. So kind of just pull that out of the way. And you want to do this about, I would say about the 3rd row down. If you do it right at the top, it doesn't really hang nicely. So about the 3rd row down, I'm going to hold your hanging tab in place. And you can see where that's going to hang a little bit better than if you did it right at the top. And you're just going to sew back and forth through both layers of the loop and through the stocking body itself, making sure that you don't catch that cuff. We're just going to sew this on and fasten off, weave in any ends that you might still have, and that's going to be the stocking. And that is the Bobble Christmas Tree Stocking. I hope you enjoyed making this pattern. If you found this tutorial helpful, I'd love it if you could give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can find lots more free patterns and tutorials on my website, notanest.com. Thanks for watching.